students, we will now look at the process of supercharging. So, what is supercharging? The power developed by a naturally aspirated engine. Now, what is naturally aspirated means now we are breathing naturally. So, this is called naturally aspirated. We are taking air inside our lungs. So, this is natural aspiration. But when we go to hospital and suppose we are admitted in ICU and we are given artificial respiration, then that is not natural aspiration. That is like forced uh, induction of air into the lungs. Okay. So, the naturally aspirated engine, the power developed depends upon some four criteria. One is the amount of air introduced into the engine cylinder per cycle. Second, the degree of utilization of the inducted air. Third, the engine RPM and the thermal efficiency. And lastly, the quantity of fuel admitted and its combustion characteristics. So, by increasing engine speed or by increasing the air density of the inlet, it is possible to increase the amount of air inducted into the engine cylinders per unit time. So, to increase the amount of air inducted, I can either increase the engine RPM, that is speed, or I can increase the air density. As the engine speed is increased, inertial load increases, and this calls for rigid and robust engine to withstand the stresses. So, if the engine speed is increased, now we can see the engines are small engines are running up to 10,000 RPM, whereas the car engines and all they run up to 4-5,000 RPM, especially petrol diesel cars. So, what happens if the engine speed is increased, then the cylinder the dimensions increases, and the cylinder means the cross sectional thickness of the cylinder will increase, and hence the material will increase and the weight of the engine increases. Also, at higher engine speeds, this causes the decrease in the volumetric efficiency. It increases the higher friction and increases the bearing loads. The method of increasing the air inlet density is called as supercharging. So, supercharging is a method of increasing the inlet air density. This increases power output of the engine. So, the supercharging is achieved by supplying air or air fuel mixture at a pressure higher than the pressure at which the engine naturally aspirates air. So, engine naturally aspirates air somewhere around 1 bar and some less than that. Whereas the supercharging, this increases the air density and hence the mass of the air and air fuel mixture inducted for the same swept volume, and thereby increase the power output of the engine. A device we called supercharger is used to increase the pressure of the air. So in today's high-tech automobiles, you have superchargers which develop almost to double the pressure of the air. So almost 100 times more power can be developed. And in real life also you can see a normal naturally aspirated engine, if it is generating 1000 kilowatt, then for the same engine, if its turbocharger is put, it can develop 150 to 160 kilowatt. Around 60% more power is developed without increasing the dimensions of the engine, just by introducing the turbo supercharger. Okay, so this is about supercharging, and the power output can also be increased by increasing the compression ratio. So by increasing compression ratio, the brake mean effective pressure will increase and the maximum cylinder pressure will increases. Okay, but this leads to higher exhaust temperatures and higher thermal loads. So people are going for turbocharging, which uses the energy of the exhaust gases to drive the turbine, that increases the air density. So turbocharging is used in the cars, which uses the energy of the exhaust gases to drive the turbine, which increases the inlet air density. So again, the purpose of supercharging is to increase the power output of the engine. It increases the volumetric efficiency of the engine above the normal aspiration. It supplies more air or more air fuel mixture than naturally aspirated engine, and thus the supercharging is also called as boosting. Uh, This increases power output uh, by permitting burning of larger quantities of fuel, and it does not increase the fuel consumption per brake kilowatt hour. Means the specific fuel consumption does not increase. So this is was about the introduction to supercharging.